welcome to today's talk. Today's talk is on trust in uncertain times. So thank you for joining me, and I hope this talk resonates with some of you. All right, so trust. It feels just especially relevant in the times that we're going through right now. Because just in general, it's just the world and life in general is filled with so much uncertainty, right? And we're living through times of just global fear and societal mistrust in general. And whether we realize it or not, it impacts deeply our nervous system. And when mistrust runs deep, whether it's in ourselves, others, or just the world around us, it creates suffering, right? I mean, just sit with that for a moment. When there's mistrust, whether it's in ourselves, others, or the world around us, it creates suffering. Okay, so trust is a big word in just so many different levels. It leaves us feeling disconnected, ungrounded, and just unable to fully sense into that feeling of belonging. And that's just the worst, right? Because I feel that when we don't have a sense of belonging, it has this underlay of just unworthiness to it, right? I mean, at least that's what I think. And through my own experience, of course. So we're going to explore trust and what it means and how it shapes our lives so we can rebuild it. Yeah. And we'll start with a reflection and just kind of see what comes up for you. So at its core, trust is about our sense of well-being and security. Our ability to feel okay with our reality. Right? And that plays out in so many different ways. Trust in ourselves and just our ability to navigate life's challenges. So that's a big one, that trust in ourselves. Knowing that we have our own back and that we can get through any of life's challenges. I mean, if I was to ask you who deals with sometimes this feeling of not trusting in oneself, I'm sure there's so many of us that would raise our hands. In different scenarios. It doesn't have to be in general. It could be in finances. It could be in making decisions. It could be in relationships. Where do you lack trust in yourself? The other one is trust in others, right? Our relationships, our connections. Like how often can we truly have trust in others? Okay. And then the third one is just trust in the larger world and our faith in something that's beyond us, which could be, God, the universe, our higher selves, or whatever that looks like for you. There's no right or wrong, right? But it's something that we develop, okay? Just that big trust, that larger world trust. It's something we truly develop over time. But trust isn't something that we either have or don't have. It's something we actually develop. It's essentially, it's shaped early in life through our family, our caregivers, our experiences, and just society around us. And if we are raised in an environment full of mistrust, it can take some deep intentional work to reconnect with a sense of trust, both in ourselves and in life. And for me, myself, in my own experience, I was raised in a home with a lot of mistrust. I couldn't rely on anyone. I couldn't trust anyone. The only person I could trust essentially was myself. And even then, I was so young. Could I really trust in myself? No. And just throughout life, of the different paths that took me down, going through different hardships, a lot of pain, a lot of wrong turns, or essentially right, because you learn from every mistake, wrong turn, right? But going back and just thinking about it, of all these difficult, hard places I was at, that sense of big trust in the world around me, I always found just that refuge in connecting with nature and just the stars, the ocean, the trees. And that for me always gave me just a sense of belonging, what helped me develop over time this big trust, this larger world trust, this faith in something else. So anyways, it's taken a lot of intentional work on my part. All right, so the two kinds of trust. We have just that big trust, and we have what's called little trust. And I find it helpful just to think of these two different types. Both are essential, but different. Little trust is like this relative trust, this trust that we place in people, in situations, in systems. And it's based on experience, predictability, and patterns. It's the trust that a loved one will keep their word. That our body will support us. And that society will function in a way that we can rely on. Right? But the caveat is the world is always changing. So there is absolutely no certainty with little trust in people, places, the world around us, because of different experiences, different patterns. There's no uncertainty with it. So how can we trust in something that is always changing? That little trust. We need some level of this little trust to function in the world. But we also need discernment, because not everything is worthy of our trust. Okay, so enough about little trust. Big trust, which is almost like this. One of my teachers, he's such a great teacher. His name is Stan Eisenstein. He's one of my just favorite mindfulness teachers. Actually, okay. All right, so let's talk about big trust. And I'm not sure exactly which teacher brought this to me, but speaking of spiritual trust, almost as this spiritual blanket that we just wrap ourselves in. And I love to think of it that way. So, unlike little trust, big trust doesn't depend on anything external. It's a deep inner knowing that we belong to something larger than ourselves. Whether we call it life, love, spirit, God, consciousness, or divine presence. It's the foundation, but beneath everything. The more we cultivate it, the more we can navigate life's uncertainties, and we can navigate it with grace. It allows us to hold our imperfections, or just the imperfections of small trust, of people letting us down, of things not going as planned, without collapsing into fear or mistrust. So how do we rebuild trust? Essentially, we want to cultivate trust through exactly what we're doing together. These practices of mindfulness, of heart, and awareness. Maybe you've had moments of just deep meditation in nature, in love, deep connection, where you just felt this sense of belonging. So I invite you right now to just stop and think about when and where and what you were doing when you felt this sense of belonging. Were you in nature? Were you in a church? Were you with a loved one? But it's where we feel this deep okayness with life itself, with all the chaos that could be going on around us. We just feel this deep, it's okay, it's okay. And in this big trust is where we can find our refuge. Okay, when dealing with just uncertainties in life in general, with ourselves, with others, society, is finding refuge in that big trust. And again, through my own story, whenever I feel just any mistrust, or I feel let down, or sad, or disconnection, first, I don't want to bypass whatever it is that I'm feeling. I want to allow these feelings to be there and be okay with it. Be okay with feeling mistrust. Be okay with being sad or let down, or be okay with uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. And the only way for me, in my own experience, can be okay with this little trust is to find refuge in where I feel this sense of belonging. And for me, it's really connected with nature. The ocean. I like to surf, so just sitting on my surfboard in the middle of the water, and but besides that, it's just the trees and the forest and the desert under the stars. When I can get to nature, I just feel this sense of belonging. And it goes back to, I remember when I was really little, this is kind of a past story, but my mom would lock us kids out of the house because she didn't want us on the television. And plus just other chaotic things that were going on in the home. And I would get so sad of just being locked out of the house, locked out of my bedroom, locked out of, and not knowing when I could get back in the house. And the only way I would get through it was being in nature. I would just find refuge in whatever it was, playing in the trees. I used to do so many different things just outdoors in nature. And until today, at 49 years old, I'm still doing the same thing. So where do you feel a sense of belonging? I invite you to just maybe even pause this video for a moment and just sit with that. And if you can, when you come to this place, this refuge, this place of big T, a sense of belonging, feel it in the body, if possible. Just that sensation of, I belong here. Where do you feel you belong? And, so again, just going into the uncertainty, I put in my notes here a couple different stories of, just a mother sharing a story of going through divorce, and her daughter would cry many times, missing her father. And one time they just sat together and they sent her father just a simple loving kindness wish. And just that simple, innocent offering held so much trust, just trust in love and connection and the possibility of kindness, even in difficult times, even when we're going through a breakup, a divorce. When we can connect with love, presence, and awareness, we connect with this big trust. Let's see, I think I have one more story. Well, another story is just of, this friend who's going through physical pain of cancer, and she's not sure, and there's uncertainty around how long she's going to be in this human experience on this planet. And one of the things that she finds refuge in is being in the church. Just the church itself brings this sense of belonging, this sense of something greater than going through this cancer she's going through. So that's where she finds refuge. Okay, so here's a few different stories. So like I said, Where do you find your refuge? All right, so through mindfulness, we explore both the fear, honoring that it's real, it's valid, and observing any fear we might have with compassion, with love. It's okay to be here. The self-judgment, seeing it for what it is rather than this absolute, right? And being okay that self-judgment is here. And just this honoring your vulnerability, honoring your heart, and moving at your own pace with whatever it is, building trust in yourself, building trust in others, building trust in change. And through compassion and presence with this vulnerability, we see our struggles, but we see them again with compassion, with love, with mindfulness, awareness, recognizing that maybe whatever mistrust or uncertainty that's here, that we see it with this space of loving awareness and having compassion for ourselves and for others. So how do we cultivate, right? So first by feeling the pain of mistrust, the pain, the vulnerability, feeling the pain. Instead of pushing it away, we turn towards it with compassion, letting it be this portal of deep awareness. Okay. And then second is by connecting where trust already exists, that refuge, whether it be in nature, in love itself, spiritual practice, or just being present with the moment. All right, to finalize this talk is just with one quote by Joseph Goldstein. He once said, "Don't waste your suffering." If you're experiencing suffering, if you're experiencing mistrust, disconnection, let it become the path. Let it guide you towards something deeper. Thank you so much for joining me for today's talk. I will post a meditation on how to rebuild this trust. Thank you so much.